For the longest time, when we talked about AI hardware, it was all about one thing, right? The GPU. Well, that era is over. We've officially entered a new industrial phase where the fundamental unit of computing, it's not the chip anymore. No, it's the entire data center, completely redesigned from the ground up as a massive, integrated AI factory. So let's dive into what this huge shift is all about.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down what this new AI factory actually is. Then we're going to look at the two giants battling to build it. You've got NVIDIA with its super-controlled supercomputer, and then this new open standard alliance led by AMD and Meta. We'll also see how this whole thing massively impacts the cloud and even your next laptop. And finally, we'll get to the heart of it, the new economic metric that's going to decide who wins and who loses, something called tokenomics.
So first up, the new AI factory. And look, this isn't just about slapping a new name on the data center. This is a totally different way of thinking about how we produce intelligence.
Yeah, this quote from NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, just nails it. We're moving away from one-off tasks, like training a single model. We're now in an era of mass-producing intelligence, 24/7 at a global scale. Think of it less like a science lab and more like a power grid for AI.
So what exactly is an AI factory?
Well, at its core, it's a system that's always on, designed for just one thing, turning raw inputs, power, silicon, data, into intelligence. The really key difference from an old data center is that it treats the entire rack, maybe even rows of racks, as one giant, unified computer, not just a bunch of separate servers sitting next to each other. And hey, if you're going to run a factory, you need to measure your efficiency, right? And that new metric is called token economics. A token, it's just the basic piece of output for a language model, like a word or even just part of a word. The new fight isn't just about who has the most raw horsepower, it's about who can generate that next little spark of intelligence, that next token for the lowest possible cost. That is the new bottom line. Which brings us to our first major player, NVIDIA. Their big bet is that the future belongs to a single, vertically integrated, and just perfectly optimized supercomputer. Their whole philosophy is wrapped up in this phrase they use, extreme co-design. What that means is that every single piece of the puzzle, the GPU, the CPU, the networking, even the cooling system, is all designed together from scratch as one single cohesive machine. The goal? Eliminate every possible bottleneck and just squeeze every last drop of performance out of the system. In this is the heart of that strategy. Their new Vera Rubin platform, it's not just a chip. It's like a symphony of 6 different, highly specialized components all working together perfectly. You've got the Rubin GPU, that's your main engine. The Vera CPU is like the conductor, orchestrating everything. You've got specialized fabrics for communication inside and outside the rack, and even a dedicated processor just to run the infrastructure itself. It's the whole shebang. And the results of that co-design, they're just staggering. I mean, the jump from their last generation, Blackwell, to this new Vera Rubin platform, we're talking a 10 times improvement in performance per watt, a 10 times reduction in the cost to generate a token. And get this, for certain complex models, you can get the same results with 75% less hardware. That is a massive, massive economic shift. But NVIDIA's walled garden isn't the only vision for the future. An opposition is rising, a powerful alliance that's betting everything on an open, mix-and-match ecosystem. And the scale of this challenge, it's just immense. This number, $60 billion, that's the potential value of a 5-year supply agreement between AMD and Meta. This is not just some big purchase order. No, this is a strategic partnership meant to create a real, viable alternative to NVIDIA's dominance. The physical scale is just as mind-boggling. Meta is planning to deploy up to 6 gigawatts of power just for AMD's Instinct GPUs. I mean, that is a colossal amount of energy. It signals a deep commitment to building a global AI infrastructure that isn't locked into a single supplier. So here's the bottom line. We now have 2 fundamentally different philosophies going head-to-head. On one side, you have NVIDIA's proprietary vertically integrated system. It promises the absolute peak of performance because everything is co-optimized. On the other side, you have the AMD and Meta alliance pushing for open standards to avoid vendor lock-in and give customers more choice and flexibility. It's the classic walled garden versus the open ecosystem. So what does this clash of the titans actually mean for the real world? Well, this is where it all comes together. A new reality is emerging, both for the cloud giants and for you and me. You see, the big cloud companies, they're not just sitting back and waiting to see who wins this fight. They are actively re-architecting their data centers right now to handle this next wave of hardware, no matter who builds it. And this new reality, it's all about insane power demands and a universal switch to liquid cooling.
I mean, just look at Microsoft Azure for a second. They're making huge, tangible investments. They're literally installing brand new liquid cooling loops, redesigning their server racks from the ground up for insane bandwidth, and even creating these new pod exchange systems so they can swap out massive compute trays on the fly. We're talking about multi-year, multi-billion-dollar upgrades here. But here's the cool part. This intense pressure to be more efficient, it doesn't just stay in the data center. The relentless drive to solve these massive power and cooling problems, well, it creates breakthroughs that spill over directly into the devices that we use every single day. And here is a perfect example of that. Up to 31 hours. That is the potential battery life on the new Dell XPS 14 laptop. This is a direct result of that same race for efficiency. That crazy competition in the data center forces innovation in things like high-density batteries and super power-sipping CPUs, which now gives us laptops that can last all day and then some.
Which brings us to our final and honestly our most important point. In this new age of AI, what's the real competitive advantage? What's the new moat?
You know, for the longest time, the company with the fastest chip, the most petaflops, they had the edge. But the rules of this new industrial game, they have fundamentally changed. So here it is, the key takeaway. The new moat, the ultimate competitive advantage, is the economic efficiency of producing intelligence. It's the total cost in money, in energy, in time to generate that next token. That is the battlefield where the future of AI will be won or lost. Which leaves us with a big question. As these incredible AI factories scale up to power our world, will they be built on the top-to-bottom control of a closed, perfectly optimized garden, or on the flexibility and choice of an open, interoperable ecosystem? The answer to that is going to define the next decade of technology.